I was live for a minute and a half and talking, and none of you decide. None of you, not a single one of you, uh, took your time to tell me that my mic was muted. um, Starts at 1:30 because nobody told me my mic was unmuted. The jammy ... There we go. Yes, I'm talking about you a lot. Well, I mean, if you would have told me that my mic was unmuted, perhaps we would have done this slightly. We would have been here slightly earlier. As it is, I just look like a silly person. Coincidentally, look at that. Isn't that cool? Depending on how far out you get different maps from a different provider, and so those maps come in different seasons. So down here, this is winter, and up here, this is summer. Yes, I'm ignoring you for a very good reason. So we're still going to do Japan because we kind of have to, because I promised my boy. But we're going to take the scenic route. Wait, can't I? I'm supposed to be able to add this to flight path. What? Why am I not allowed to add this to flight path? What do you mean? Okay, well, okay. So we're going to go here as arrival, and then can we then? Okay. We're gonna add this like this, and then we're gonna go up to Mount Fuji. No. Oh, it has to do it that way. Okay. So we're gonna add like this. There we go. And then we're gonna come down here to actual Shizuoka. And then we're gonna come over here. And so that's going to be our flight path. It says it's about 19 minutes at 120 nautical miles. So we're gonna take a slightly slower plane. Let's see. Or no, yeah, 120 nautical miles. Cruising speed. Let's take. Oh, they changed this now. Now it's one of these. Okay, let's take. Actually, why don't we leave it to our Oh, yeah, you know who you are. Just pick a plane. Really? The yellow one? All right. Okay. I'm cool with that. Let's make it nice in the morning. We're gonna have live weather. Oh, is it stormy right now? Oh, interesting. Live weather and time. So it's 10:30 and stormy. Well, okay. This should be exciting. I forgot to plug in my controller. Today's just going all sorts of correctly. Well, if someone hadn't kept me up with a 6-hour marathon meeting last night, then I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be like this. Wait, what? No, we're fine. We're fine. We don't need this. But it's true. You do pay me, so I can't complain. I mean, I guess I can't deny that. That's true. That's true. Yes, I am getting paid perplexingly well for it, and in fact, I am getting. I suppose in some ways you're right. I am getting double paid for it. So I guess I can't really complain. Anyway, so we're good to go, right? Let's go then. Ooh. Excuse me. I have no idea how to fly this airplane, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Where's my there's my speed, okay. There's my engine speed. Let's set it to like there. And we're going in this direction. Coincidentally, look, you can see Mount Fuji in the distance. Like right there. That is very pretty. That is very pretty. Let's take a look around. So we're just over. Oh, why does that look like my streaming? Like the data isn't being streamed into me. Oh, give me 1 second. Let me just double check what my internet is up to. No. Just like I think my internet was being used for downloading. Let's hope that this changes. This makes things better. Or is it just always like that because we're so far away? It shouldn't be though, right? Like last time, remember we were in Tokyo and it was looking beautiful. Why is it not looking beautiful this time? Oh, you know what? It's probably because we're too far away. Well, no matter. Today we're here to look at actual scenery, not like city scenery, right? And for what it's worth, the mountains are looking incredible, so we're good. We're moving a little bit too much that way. Engine. Okay. So, how are we all doing today? What are you doing to me? Sorry, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to figure out what happened to my trim. Right button and right stick. Oh, okay. Right, I forgot. Like right button and right stick doesn't gel very well because like no, I think we'll have to change that. Change that to. Why can't I use a controller to change this? God, these people. Let's do right button and down. And right button and up. There we go. Okay, we're good. So tell me about your day. Well, some of you, not all of you. Some of you, I don't really care how your day went. It's just the truth. I really don't, right? Like, well, I mean, for some of you, like your day is just really boring. This was a request by just for those who are confused. This was a request by our sponsor to see the inside of the plane, because apparently he doesn't want to look at the scenery. He wants to look at the inside of the plane. So who knows? I need to actually figure out these dials at this point. Altitude, we're okay, right? It turns out. Yeah, see, that's altitude, that's vertical speed. I don't know what our vertical speed is. Oh, our vertical speed is not going down much anymore. Okay. So we're going to trim up just a little bit. We're going too far to the right, so let's go to the left. And our vertical speed is going up. Oh, actually, we don't want to go too far to the left because right now we can actually see Mount Fuji, you know, as opposed to not being able to see it. Okay, now tell me about your day. Actually, not all of you together. One at a time, please. Yeah. Oh, actually, that's a good idea. We could technically make this a kind of like a drinks thing, right? Yeah. Yeah, we could. Are we? I just want to go out and check what my Yes, my altitude is correct. We are going down still a lot, so let's just a bit. I like it though. Oh, sorry. This is in response to one of our viewers who said her day was filled with lots of boredom. Flaps, and that's the trim. See, I wish I had a little wheel for the trim. That would be really cool. Because then you can adjust the trim really well, right? Yeah, like if you had a wheel, you could very finely fine tune the trim, and that's really how you control your altitude with finesse. Right? Not that finesse always happens, but like you want to be able to finesse it when you can. Ooh, that shaking of the plane. Oh, that is very cool. I can imagine doing this in like VR, and doing this in VR would be cool. Well, of course, like, you know, for things like this, you definitely need the physical interaction. If you don't, then VR itself isn't actually that much better. Well, okay, I'll say this. I think the map is important because I don't want to navigate by dials. Well, I just don't, right? Like, I don't think I even have a GPS in here. And normally, if I were to take a plane like this into a position like this, and like, and fly around, in this day and age, you would take a GPS with you, just because why not? So let's just assume the VFRs are GPS. Anyway, so back to our conversation about your days. How is that being pretentious? Also, what happened to my altitude? Why am I sitting at... Oh, I see. That one is the 10,000s. This one is the thousands, and that's the hundreds, right? Yeah, that's what we're sitting at. One, yeah. Okay, so vertical speed is still 2 negative. Let's trim up just a little bit. Every time I trim up, though, the plane doesn't want to stay going forward. Actually, we should go a little bit lower. I don't know why I'm going so high. Let's go down to about 20,000 feet, and then we can continue. Because then we can actually see the ground, right? Like right now we're kind of seeing these things from very far away, and that's why we can see Mount Fuji. But when we get close and we're still at 30,000 feet, we'll have this great big, you know, the fuselage of the plane in a way. So we can't really do that. Yeah, so that's why I'm trimming down. Actually, I want to see if trim down. Yeah, you see the trim down. Whenever I trim down, it moves the wheel by a tiny bit. That's very cool. Did you really? Well, we know who you work for, so that makes sense. Yes. One of our in-house. Can I actually say it? I can, right? Yeah, one of our in-house persons who is a lawyer, spent all day fuming over Elon Musk's tweets, and yeah, all I was saying with that is, yeah, we know why, because we know who he works for, and so you know, as it should, right? Ah, so you see, we're now at 29,500 feet, right? Yes, exactly. Learn to read the dials, yes. Actually, that's a good question. I actually don't know if this airspeed is just airspeed or if it's RPM. That's actually a very good question. I have no idea. Let's see. That's 30. Airspeed is what, 450, right? Yeah. No, 45. What? Yeah. Six. That's 80 kilometers per hour. So yeah, 45. I don't know what TAC is. Oil temp. So off the bat, I don't think there is an RPM slider, is there? Temperature, CHT. I have no idea what CHT is. Oil pressure. Oh no, there's RPM right here. I'm so dumb. So that's where we're sitting at, what, 33,000 RPM? Yeah, about 3,000 RPM. And I don't know how it calculates airspeed. That's a good question. Do you want me to look it up? Actually, let me look it up. Because that's actually very important, right? Because you read the altitude. Okay, let's see. Requires no. Indicated airspeed, corrected airspeed, altimeter based on proper altimeter setting. Increase U by 2 per 1,000 feet to obtain true airspeed. At 8,500 feet is 170 knots. That's interesting. So how does how do you measure airspeed? Pilot's pitted static system. Air pressure difference between static and dynamic pressures outside the aircraft. Okay. So essentially, indicated between static and dynamic pressures. Indicated airspeed. Pitot-static. Pressure-based aircraft system that measures and compares ram air pressure and static pressure. So ram air pressure obviously is the pressure that you literally that you're ramming into the air with. Pitot tube, L-shaped device, leading edge of a wing. Has a heating system, blah 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 blah. Dynamic air pressure, ram air pressure. A static pressure port is a flush-mounted air inlet opening in the side of the fuselage. Area relatively under. Oh, okay. So let's easy. So say for example, let's look underneath our wing to see if there is such a thing. Oh, it could potentially be. It could potentially be this thing. I have no idea though. Don't quote me on it. But essentially, there is a pressure difference between the air that gets pushed into the airplane by our forward motion. And from a physics perspective, there is a part of the air that is relatively static, that is not like the pressure doesn't change. So perhaps on the side of the wing here. And by measuring the difference between those two pressures, you have sort of, I wonder what the formula is. Talk about okay. This is slightly more complicated. Yes, I know altimeter. Yes, I know vertical speed indicator. So the vertical speed indicator obviously is just measuring air pressure, right? The difference in change in your air pressure is your vertical speed. Blah, blah. To accomplish this, build up a sealed case with a meter leak at the back of the case. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously that's the same. Airspeed. It doesn't give me the actual pressure or the mechanical diagram for how this happens. Okay, well, I'll figure it out later, and we can talk about the mechanics behind it. But essentially, the pressure that comes in from the front, if it's much higher than the pressure that is at the side. Well, okay, let's start with, if you are not moving, then the pressure that comes from the front should be the same as the pressure on the side, right? Like that's fairly obvious, I think. Nobody's going to dispute that. If you do, screw you. No, well, I mean, it's just that is our ground truth. We have to accept that before we can talk about anything else. Like, if you're on the ground and you're not moving forward, right, then the pressure that comes that your airplane is moving into, since you're not moving, should be the same as the pressure on the side where you're not moving anywhere. Actually, it might not be on the side. It might be like, actually, I wonder where it would be on this there. I have no idea. Perhaps that's it. I don't. I think it might be this thing, but no idea. Don't quote me. Anyway, the point is, so obviously, if you're not moving, then there's no difference between the pressure that comes from the front and the pressure that comes from the side. And the more you move, the pressure at the side. Say you're moving at the same altitude, right? So say we're at 25,000, and we're just going forward, then the pressure on the side remains the same, but the faster you go, the more air pressure comes in from the front, right? And that air pressure then gets translated into a supposed airspeed. That and so there is a formula for, and that's just based on how much air is actually hitting, like the mass of air that is getting into that tube, tube, right? And so that generates a pressure, even though there's no flow. If you're going faster, there is more air that's trying to get forced into that tube, and therefore the pressure is higher. So with higher pressure, then you have higher airspeed. That's I think fairly easily understood. Yeah, and so exactly, and so it measures it in comparison to your altitude, right? So essentially, if you were lower, then the side pressure would be higher, since there's more air, right? Like, the lower we are, the more air pressure there is, because there's just more air on top of us. Is that so surprising? Well, it's surprising that it's surprising. Okay, well, let's think about it, right? Like the lower we are, if you now look up, you can imagine that air stops, at we've talked about the difference between space and where space starts before, so we're not gonna go into that. It was the Elon, Richard Branson, and Jeff Bezos conversation, if you guys remember, like Blue Origin and then Virgin Galactic doing its like dick move thing. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. The point I'm laboriously trying to get to is that we can assume that air stops, let's say it doesn't even matter, 100 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, right? And it is like that for all of the Earth, regardless of how high your surface is. And you can kind of think of that like a swimming pool, right? It has a deep end and a shallow end, and it doesn't matter how deep the deep end is and how shallow the shallow end is. The surface of the water is more or less in the same at the same absolute height, not compared to the not compared to the surface underneath, but just there's no Z difference in that surface of the water. What if there's a water slide? Well, obviously, if there's a water slide, that water is coming from a different place. Can we just talk about the pool and just like keep it to the pool? Coincidentally, I'm gonna drop the our altitude just a little bit more, because we want to see the other things that are sitting beside Mount Fuji, right? Wait, what? Why is my airspeed going up? Pushing it down. Weird. Anyway. So because the surface of the air remains at basically the same kind of height from the sea level, right? Then the higher you are, there's less air above you, and therefore the air pressure is lower. You can think of that way, right? And so the higher we fly, the less air there is. I mean, that to me is self-evident, because air is matter, and matter is getting pulled down to the surface of the air by gravity. That's why air hasn't sort of rocketed off into space, right? And so the higher you go, there's less air. And coincidentally, it's the same thing with water. The deeper you go inside the water, the more pressure you have to go, right? Like, I'm sure tons of you have gone scuba diving, because that's kind of shit you guys do, right? Because you think that's an adventure. Ooh, it's exotic. Yes, you're right. I should put this into the thing. What was it? We're at 30 minutes. Let's say it started at 25 minutes air pressure. 30 minutes scuba. Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, by the way. The reason I know is because I watched a lot of Boy Meets World when I was young to learn English. Do you guys know that show? It might have been after your time, for most of you. Anyway, we're getting off topic. The point is, it's like this underwater as well. The further down you go, the deeper the more pressure you have, right? And that's why there is such thing as diving altitude sickness, diving sickness, whatever. Like if you just go scuba diving, you're not supposed to, or if you spend some time scuba diving, you're not supposed to go in an airplane, because the huge pressure change will actually do like significant damage to your body. Well, not, I mean, like not irrecoverable damage, but damage nonetheless. Coincidentally, before we continue, to our sponsor, can I just go pop out of the cockpit so we can look at the lakes down below? Excellent. So we just passed over Lake Kawaguchi, which is here. It's got a city on the side. We should go visit that one day. Yeah. We're now moving to Lake Sai. And then we're gonna move to Lake Fuji. No, I assume that's, I actually don't know. Probably Shinji? No idea. I could look it up, but nah. And then we're going to go to Lake Motsu and then turn south. Coincidentally, we definitely will not be able to make it to Shizuoka today. Like, we we spent, oh my god. Can you guys hear the sirens? Yeah. Anyway, it's all good. We're gonna move south. We probably, I think we'll get to like here before we have to go, but that's fine. It just means we'll have to pick it up next time. What was I saying? Scuba, altitude sickness. Yes, and so that's why there's less air the higher you go. Cool. Yeah. That is a city, yes. We can go take a look, but it's not going to be that exciting. I wonder why my draw distance is so crap. Limit of detail, geometric, anisotropic, texture, water waves. Depth field, don't care. Motion blur, don't care. Blues on. Reflections. Is there no draw distance? There is no draw distance. High quality aerial imagery, yeah. Photogrammetry, yeah. Air traffic multiplier off. No. What? Oh, I don't know what that means. Okay, that's fine. Unit of measurement. Green narrator, interesting. Not useful though. I'll probably try VR on my own one day. Yes, but not today. HDR10. Oh right, because my monitor doesn't support that. No, I guess there is no DLA, TA. No, we can just do. I don't need anti-aliasing, honestly. But like, still, I wonder why the see, without anti-aliasing, you can see that there's the wing, right? It was smooth. I don't know if you guys can see it very well. You should be able to see it now. And it should be quite obvious that, yeah, I see it in the OBS window, but you can see this line is no longer smooth. And that's what aliasing does. It takes all of these jagged lines that are being rendered, and it turns them smooth, but of course at the expense of a lot of processing power. Yes, I did completely get off topic again. What time was this? 36:10. Aliasing. Okay. Can you remind me to do this more in the future? But don't worry if you can't. Yeah, so we're going back into the cabin. Look, Mount Fuji's to our left. I feel like it was a conscious decision of them. The question was, or the comment was that it's got snow on it, and yeah, I certainly feel like it was a conscious decision because they wanted it to. Oh, we're below 20,000 feet. Anyway, they wanted it to look like it did in the pictures. And you know what? That's fair. That's fair. When you go as a tourist, when you go visit Mount Fuji and it's not white with snow, not like with white people, but like with with snow, it can be disappointing, right? Like a lot of people have this idea of what things should be like, and when they go visit it and see that it isn't there, it's going to be anticlimactic. Yes. And they'll be sad, and then like they'll have a bad experience and tell everyone about it, and then other people will be sad too and not come and give you money. And so that's why it's very important for you to meet the expectations of the clientele. And in this case, people who fly in Japan definitely most people who fly in Japan definitely want to see Mount Fuji with the snow on top. Because how dare it not have snow? Seriously. Wait, really? Are you actually getting plane sick? I can move out. Like we don't have to listen to our sponsor. He can. Yeah? Okay, let's do that. Because when we're out here, you see the camera doesn't shake as much with the wind, right? Like the camera sort of is smoothed while the plane goes back and forth. I'm going to turn Aliasing back on. It turns out it's actually kind of nice. And we're gonna do TAA because we can afford it. See? Look, no, very little jagged edges. There's still a little bit here as the plane wing drops back and forth. I think you guys can see that, right? Like as the wing goes up and down, you can still see some of it, but not as much now. Yeah, exactly. That's the difference, right? And I think Nvidia has like again, not investment advice. Nvidia has they're using AI to do the aliasing, and it's actually a lot better. Yeah, absolutely. So what happens is you can train an AI to do the aliasing, absolutely. Like obviously it needs to have a good idea of what happens, right? So in this case, it would probably be fed information about the plane, what it looks like from all different angles, and so then I think it might be just part of the DLSS, which is dynamic learning super sampling, where they first train the AI on like very high, like they render at like 8K, I think, or even like 16K, 32K images, something like that. And then they feed those images to the AI, and then all they have to do afterwards is give the AI a image that's like 720p. Oh right. So 4K is you guys know what 4K is. It's like, think the difference between Blu-ray video and Blu-ray, DVDs, and VHS, right? Yeah, now we're talking. Yeah, you guys know what VHS is, you old. Well, so it's that kind of thing. So when we say instead of rendering at 4K, render at 32K, you can imagine it's 8 times the pixels of a 4K image. And so once the AI has learned from a series of these images, then you can give it something very low resolution, like a early DVD resolution, right? So like not Blu-ray, but like early DVD resolution, and then it can upscale it in a very believable way to fill in with the missing information based on what it knows about everything that exists in here. And obviously, it wouldn't render exactly this image that we're looking at with all of the clouds. No, what it does is it sort of like the underlying rendering would just be like, oh, there's a plane. We're going to apply DLSS on the plane itself. We're going to apply DLSS on the clouds, on the farm fields in the bottom, right? And all of these things. Oh, I shouldn't have asked you to remind me to add these things in. Dynamic learning super sample. I think that's what it's called. NVIDIA Dynamic Learn SS. Deep learning super sample. My bad. I don't know why I thought dynamic. Deep learning, yes. Yes. And it's just deep learning because the neural networks that they use are, I don't know, deep. Well, it's true. Like, we don't really. Well, okay, I do know what a deep neural network is, but do you guys really want to know what a deep neural network is? I mean, okay, fine. So, um, deep learning deep learning really means so neural networks depend on things that we call that we call layers. So there's an input layer, which is where all of the information that you wanted that you know gets fed into the network, and then there's an output layer that is, you know, the neural network has taken your input information, and given how you trained it, it's come up with what it thinks the answer should be. And that could be a whole bunch of things, right? That could be the next move in a Go game, as we've talked about before. That could be how to super sample the how to anti-alias, make sure that there are no jagged edges on this airplane, right? Like that kind of thing. And you can definitely see there are no, and this is TAA, which is temporal anti-aliasing, which does a whole bunch of other things that we can talk about in the future. But essentially, between the input and output layers, there are potentially a lot of layers, a lot of internal layers that sort of there are a whole bunch of nodes in the middle that, you know, like based on what you give it, it'll have some kind of like different response to the input, right? So just like how in our brain our neurons can be trained to respond differently to an input if we do so enough, so it is here with what am I trying to say? So it is here with the artificial neurons, right? Which is why it's called a neural network. So when we say deep learning, usually that means there is quite a few layers in the middle, because the more layers you introduce, the more complexity you can introduce, right? If you imagine if you only have a single layer in the middle, all the inputs that go in go to that first layer, and then they go directly then out to the output layer. So you only have very little chance for the middle layer to influence each other, right? Whereas if you have more layers in the middle, there's more chance for them to influence each other, and therefore more chance for them to, shall we say, introduce interesting complexity into the system. You're the one that asked. I can draw it out. Maybe I should just draw it out sometime. Yeah, so if enough of you ask, I'll draw it out into a diagram, and that'll be slightly easier to understand. Yeah? Yeah, okay. So suffice it to say, take my word for it, essentially, when we say deep learning, it does mean that there's a lot of, well, I mean, the end user doesn't have to learn anything because it has already been learned by NVIDIA, right? Like when I download the graphics driver for my 2080 Ti, it already includes the neural network for whatever DLSS games that NVIDIA supports, because they've already done the training for the neural networks. Does that kind of make sense? And no. So all of that, yes, you're right, would take a supercomputer. But once, so neural networks are divided into two main parts. One is the learning aspect, and one is the inference aspect. And so the learning aspect is what requires a supercomputer. And then the inference aspect is really just taking a known neural network, the network with all of its different weights and all of the nodes and the internal layers that I talked about earlier. It takes all of that and it just shoots it some information, and then it takes out what the network thinks should be next. So if we go back to the Go game, with Lila Zero, with all of the Go that I've played against this AI, the training had already been done. All I did was I downloaded the weighting. Well, it's called weighting, but not WAITING, WEIGHING. So like how the internal layers behave. It's essentially a behavioral map for the neural network. And then it does that. All it then has to do, my GPU has to do, is it does the inferencing of that by, well, so the 2080 Ti has this, well, I mean, almost all modern processors and graphics units have this thing called the neural core, well, machine learning core, and all it is, it's called machine learning core, but really you're not using it to learn. You're using it to take a map that's a behavioral map that someone else has already generated, and you just give it questions and you read the output from it. And partially why NVIDIA did the whole RTX thing with the 2000 series is because the pure hardware in terms of graphics didn't change that much. But they added a whole bunch of machine learning stuff on top of it. I say machine learning again, really what we mean is they added a whole bunch of cores that are really, really good for inferencing on top of it, which made ray tracing possible. Well, okay, maybe that's not the right way to say it. Just forget NVIDIA for a second. The point is that yeah, you can use the GPU to learn, and actually that's mostly what happens, because you can do massive parallel things, because these are massive parallel things, right? Neural networks are massive parallel things because the brain itself is massively parallel. Yes, the plane is just kind of flying by itself, and it's not the beauty of a plane, especially in nice weather, right? Like, this is nice. We're just enjoying the scenery. Yes, we'll be back. Yes. Anyway, let me finish talking about it. The point remains that, what did I want to say? That, oh god, I forgot. Oh, no. That on my 2080 Ti, there is a block that is used for inferencing, specifically for inferencing, for taking a behavioral map that someone else had generated in their supercomputer and just shoot questions at it and take answers out of it. And so when I download a driver, yes, I'm going back to a conversation from 5 minutes ago, but this is all related. When I'm downloading a driver, NVIDIA doesn't have just a single behavioral map for every game all squished into one. That makes no sense, right? Because it does optimizations for different games for good reason. And so instead what NVIDIA does is whenever we load a game, and then the driver, the graphics card driver sees, oh, hey, look, this game is being loaded, the game itself and the graphics driver will talk, and the game will say, please load this machine inferencing profile, and then the graphics driver will load that all into its own memory, so that when the deep learning super sampling crap gets called, it knows what kind of behavioral map to use to answer the question that the game itself is sending it. Does that make sense? Sorry. So again, if we go to a concrete example, for example, the game sends the graphics card the plane and says, I want to render this plane, and I want you to use DLSS for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And that's all the game says, right? And the game itself renders this plane, say, in 720p, which is, if we go back, it's like late VHS, early DVD quality. And then, it does that, and then the graphics card sees that, but it also sees DLSS. And so it says, oh, okay, I'll take this image. Before I render it, before I put it on screen, before I put it into the final image that then goes on screen, I will send this image to the inferencing part of the graphics card and wait for the answer from that, and then use that answer and plop it onto the final image that then gets drawn on screen, right? Technically that's not exactly what happens, but that's the spirit behind it is exactly that. It's that this allows the software to do less and hardware, middleware, to do more, and that's the point of a good driver, actually, right? Well, but we're getting into like computing philosophy now. Yeah. Exactly. The idea is exactly that. It is that we want to, as demand for, so something I learned when I did a lot of electronics design is, it's one of the key tenets, really, is that asynchronous design is always faster than synchronous design, right? Like, and in that case, it means in synchronous design, everything moves based on a single clock cycle, and so, things that take longer might slow down everything else because it's blocking something else from happening. So if you're able to break all of these parts out into asynchronous parts, then you can let everything run on its own as fast as it can, right? But you can really only do that in hardware, or No, let me rephrase that. You can do it's better to do all of that in hardware, because at the end of the day, hardware is asynchronous. Like if you go down to the board and you go down to like each copper trace level, well, not copper trace, each logic gate level, each piece of semiconductor, you will find that none of that runs based on a single clock. Well, again, that's not strictly true, but for our purposes, you can assume that that's true. Cool. Yes. Well, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Good job. Ooh, we're dropping too much. Ooh, why? Okay. It seems my vertical speed is sort of like going between either negative 2000 or positive 500. It's really weird. Like you see that our negative speed increases as we get closer to 0, and then it'll pop above. Oh, I didn't this time. Okay, well, good. Let's do one up. Yeah. Exactly. So, oh, 1 second. I think these are rendering correctly now. Yeah, the individual houses are rendering as much as the studio thinks that it should. Which is kind of a shame, because if you look at that, that's so pixelated, but then the buildings themselves are so nice. But it's fine once you zoom out, right? Like once you're at this level, it doesn't make a difference. It's just when you zoom in that you start seeing the difference between things that the game itself plopped onto the surface and the surface itself. Yeah. Anyway, okay. What was I talking about? Asynchronous, yes. Oh yeah, electronics design. Don't worry about it. We can talk about electronics design. We have now entered Shizuoka. We can see some of the T fields here. Right. Our point was to see whether this has improved. Did we come here already? I feel like we. Oh, did we? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Look, the railway. Remember the Tokaido Shinkansen that we were building? Yeah, that's it. That's Tokyo over there. Yokohama, I think. Let's just double check. Oh no. Wait, what? No, that's no longer Tokyo. Tokyo's far away. Tokyo's over there. This is the school zone. That's Fujishi down here. Yes. Yokohama is over there. I'm sorry I misled you. Please forgive me. Coincidentally, I just want to point out, notice that the lower we go, technically our airspeed goes up. And that's because there's more air. And therefore, if there's more air and we're moving at the same speed, that means there's more air that's hitting our the dynamic thing, right? Like, we'll pretend that this is it. This thing here. Yeah. Oh, look at that. We're actually almost done. Oh, but we're at the hour mark. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, we reached this part of Shizuoka. We did. Now I remember we did come here. I don't remember it making a difference. Wait, we did come here. Why did you ask if we could Right, I remember now. Yeah, well, you're welcome. That's all I got to say. Yes. Yeah, well, you're welcome. Well, I mean, it's not so bad. Honestly, I'm fine with it. I don't mind. We had some nice conversation. And you lot learned something new. Congratulations. There was a comment from this is too good not to share with the broader world, so I will. There was a comment from one of the lawyers in the Discord who I guess feels bad because I taught him something. And so in his bitterness he claimed, or he said that next time I should be talking about procedural law or procedural, like, what was the phrase you it doesn't matter. Procedural issues within modern law, and then he'll school me on it because for some reason he thinks I care. Oh, I'm sorry. I care so deeply. I care so deeply. So please, in the not too distant future, please tell me all about this, or all about the procedures that can get a case tossed out. Well, I guess I'm glad. Thank you so much. Coincidentally, I just want to point out, isn't it interesting that you can see that civilization only goes to the beginning, the foot of the mountain, because any more than that, and digging becomes incredibly difficult, right? So you can see things like if we look into here, right? Like, this is how the mountain runs, and people just like build their homes into it as far as they can go, and then they don't try to create terraces. I mean, partially that's probably because you're afraid of a landslide and stuff like that. Coincidentally, because Shizuoka is actually where that really bad landslide happened in Japan, I think a month or so ago. Yeah, and like the mud actually like took the houses into the ocean, right? So that's pretty scary. So again, that's kind of the point, right? Like, with climate change and all that, it does become a little bit more dangerous. Yes, you're right. We should end it here. Yeah. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. So. I'm not going to repeat that. No, that just ain't happening, man. Don't even think about it, bro. uh, yes, well, that's too bad, isn't it? Yes, well, in conclusion, then, thank you very much for watching. Please download Firefox. Please don't do Chrome. And for the lot of you, I will see you in the near future. Possibly tomorrow. Well, not possibly. I definitely see you tomorrow. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow, though. What did we do yesterday? Minecraft. Yes, that's right. Tomorrow, I have no idea. Why don't you, the corporations, actually, do something with all the money that they have? Yeah, use the money. Okay, anyway, bye.